Hello, my name is Austin Mann, and this is my program standard summary assignment. So, over this last school year, I was blessed to have six mentors. I had Dr. Beckner, who is the superintendent at Trinity Academy, Mrs. Connie Reddick, principal at Curtis Middle School, Mrs. Matuku, the former principal at Curtis Middle School, Mrs. Inez, the vice principal at Curtis Middle School, Mr. Bedore, another vice principal at Curtis Middle School, and Mrs. Padilla, the last vice principal at Curtis Middle School. What did I learn? Well, I learned about mission, vision, and improvement, ethical decisions and professional norms, equity, inclusiveness, and cultural responsiveness, learning and instruction, community and external leadership, operations and management, building a professional capacity. Over the course of my master's, these are all subjects that were touched on and taught through the courses. I'm going to start off with the mission, vision, and improvement, what it means to me. The mission and vision of a school mean that a set of core values have been established and that the school and administration team are actively working towards establishing a culture in which improvements can be made. It also means that sustainable growth is being shown through data. For example, there were many different examples that stuck out to me, but we were having an issue at Curtis Middle School of having too many write ups. There were too many tier 3 behaviors happening and it needed to change. Overall, we had the second most write ups in the entire district. We had more than most high schools. There was only one high school that had more, and they had three times our students. We had a meeting with Mrs. Reddick, our head principal, and we established that what needed to be constituted as a write up. We defined it as murder, which was kind of severe and extreme to me, but I saw how effective it was when we implemented what our strategies were and what we needed to do to stop murder versus a speeding ticket. In the end, after implementing the changes and creating a student support team, our write ups dropped by over 200 a month. Currently, we have had very few write ups. So, what I learned about the mission, vision, and improvement example, I learned that it takes a team to solve issues. It can't all just be the administrator. It takes the entire school to come together and work towards fixing something or following a mission or a goal. I learned that creating solutions to a problem requires the team effort and a game plan that everyone is on board with. This requires everyone coming to an agreement and an understanding. Once that agreement is met, everyone needs to uphold their end of the plan to make sure that everything goes smoothly. I also learned that prioritizing issues and focusing on creating solutions requires administration to realize that to solve an issue, you need to stop the bleeding before you can take care of the smaller issues. The data that we saw at the end of the quarter spoke for itself, and it showed that recreating the mission of the school can have a positive outcome for all. Next up was ethical decisions and professional norms. What this means to me is that staff members and administrators are providing and creating professional stances that show integrity and trust among their students and creates a culture that allows fairness and equality for all in a free and democratic society. All of these combined create a school that supports students' success and allows every child the ability to learn. It also means that adults and building leaders, we must model the ethical behavior as best we can to make sure that all are following it. So, for example, when I was at Curtis in my first quarter, we had to determine what to do when news was showing pictures of our school because students were destroying the bathroom. Mrs. Matuku had to deal with the decision of how to handle this issue from a professional norm. Ultimately, we had to decide to remain professional and show dignity. We had to talk with the students individually who were causing the issues. We also had to show them, or not, excuse me, show the students what it means to be good behavior and why not we don't destroy private property. This system helped us create a professional norm that allowed students to use the bathrooms. And over time, we were able to open up all the bathrooms since we had established professional norms. So, what I learned from this example, I learned that creating professional norms takes time and patience. I also learned that implementing norms can be quick in some instances, but slower in others. I learned that to create professional norms, an administrator needs to make sure that they are creating standards that are professional and ethical for not just themselves, but for their staffs and students as well. It is also important to make sure that as a building leader, I am making my ethical decisions and professional norms as a building leader who is looking out for the best interests of all my staff and my students and their parents, respectively. The next one was equity, inclusiveness, and cultural responsiveness. What this means to me is that administrators must make our buildings as supportive as we can to others. We can do this through data to help create and cultivate a learning environment that is open to all. Now, when I say we can do this through data, I mean we collect data and learn from it. It also means that we are creating an educational environment equitable to all who enter our building, no matter their background or financial status. We must also create an inclusive environment that provides proper instruction for social emotional behavior. For example, I was at Trinity Academy and several students wanted to help celebrate African American History Month, more so than it already was. Dr. Beckner, the superintendent, asked the students to create a proposal for him on what they wanted to do. He laid out some very basic guidelines of how it needs to be and school appropriate, but he gave them a lot of leeway and freedom to choose what they were wanting to add. The students came up with some amazing ideas, including during morning announcements, the students were wanting to present and give a short history lessons about African Americans who made big impact on American history. On the monitors in the commons and lunchroom, they wanted to have a slideshow of famous African American icons. In the music and art classes, they wanted to have famous African American composers and learn different art styles from Africa. Overall, the whole proposal went fantastic, and all of the students did a fantastic job. It was taken, and of course, all of it was approved, and the school was better for it. So, what I learned from this: equity and inclusiveness are the responsibility of the principal and administrative team. It will be my responsibility one day to make sure that all my students feel welcome and safe in the building, and that I am taking care and making sure that everyone is being treated fairly and equally. Dr. Beckner showed me how important it is to listen to others who I do not share a culture with and make sure that they are being heard and that their culture is being paid respect to and that they have felt like they're being seen. He taught me the best way to include others is to listen and let go of power. This gives others the ability not only to be heard, but to provide responses and answers that they can bring to the table that benefits everybody. The next one was learning and instruction. What this means to me is that teaching must include a high quality education that includes technology and rigorous academic programs. It also requires me as a building leader to help develop and implement a high quality instruction that will develop students' digital literacy and academic prowess. Instruction also means that curriculum and instruction are being taught in a manner that is systematic and easy to follow, excuse me. When I was at Trinity, Dr. Beckner was having to retool the entire Spanish program at Trinity Academy to accommodate the number of students in the program and trying to align it with state standards. It was difficult to create a curriculum that would appeal to students to keep them interested in their instruction instead of taking another foreign language or another curriculum, or excuse me, ulterior of class. Ultimately, Dr. Beckner assembled a team of his Spanish teachers and some language arts teachers to help create and establish a new curriculum that helps high school students stay more engaged and want to continue their education and learning in foreign languages. So, what I learned about this, it is important to know that you should never be the most experienced or intelligent person in the room when it comes to creating instruction or a process in learning, especially if you haven't been in the classroom for years or if that's not your subject matter. For example, I'm a language arts teacher. I probably shouldn't be the one creating a math curriculum. I learned that it is important to surround yourself with others who have the knowledge and serve on the front line and can collaborate effectively in creating learning that benefits all students. Community and external leadership. To me, this means that as a building leader, I need to make sure that I have the ability and capacity to discuss and talk to the school and families effectively in written and oral and electronic communication effectively. It also means that the administrator needs to create an assessment strategy that allows teachers to be evaluated fairly and effectively in their roles as teachers and help them develop and grow into better educators that allow diverse and optical learning. Over the course of my time in Baker's program, I've seen many principals make sure that they were using the community to help grow their school and get plugged in and involved in community as a whole. One of the biggest things I saw happen was the administration team at Curtis tried to change our parent teacher conferences into a family game night as well. We reached out to Chick fil A, Firehouse Sub, Dillon's, and even the United States military branches to help out put on a show. Sadly, this was not allowed because COVID shut down uh, our entire program. However, we now have the contacts in place for our school to help us next year when it'll be more likely to have a large social gathering again. Because of this, we have set the foundation to be able to create and grow with our community. So, what I learned about community and external leadership. I learned that it's important for me as a building leader to make sure those connections to our community are open in our school and or to our school and community as a whole. My classes have shown me how a community who supports the school helps the school grow, and as a whole, and vice versa. The more the community supports the school, the more the school is able to give back to the community through educated young individuals ready to go into society. This is an amazing trade off that brings much benefits to all stakeholders involved. Operations and management and what it means to me. It means that the operations and day to day routines of the buildings need to be carried out in a capacity. That means the administrator does not need to be present in every issue, so that they may adhere to more important issues that the administrator's time would be better spent. It also means that administrators put routines in place that the building can run smoothly without the administrator having to be present and micromanaging all who are involved. This allows the building to do what it's designed to do: educate young minds. Operations and management. For example, operations management is quite possibly the most important standard that we have covered in the entire program. A principal who is bogged down with day to day routines is not going to be able to effectively help their building grow. At Curtis, we had an issue where our assistant principals were so bogged down with Tier 3 write ups and behavior issues that they were unable to complete their walkthroughs for the staff members. This caused the whole school to come to a grinding halt, and there were far too many kids in the assistant principal's office. Students weren't learning, and there was chaos running amok. It almost became a daycare in some regards. This showed me firsthand that the importance of operations and management is critical to student learning and a building's success. After some retooling and the creation of the student support team, the write ups went back down, and our administration team was able to return to doing what they needed to do and not be bogged down in their offices all day. What I learned about operations management from this example. I learned that it's important for building administrators to have plans in place for the building to react accordingly. I really enjoyed my class on this one. This is probably one of my favorite class. It was especially impactful that the situations that were presented to us, and we had to work them out to try and find the answers to them. I now know how important it is to make sure day-to-day operations run smoothly. Otherwise, the school could collapse in on itself due to poor management and fatigue of staff members. Finally, building a professional capacity and what it means to me. Building professional capacity means making sure you are hiring the right person for the job and someone you can trust to do their job well and professionally. Once you have this person hired, you need to make sure that they are being developed and grown in the school through professional development. It also means that the leader needs to be able to develop and engage their staff in a culture that is professional and provides for the school's improvement. To do this, an administrator needs to develop their leadership in a way that allows staff to grow and develop positive growth mindsets and fundamental understanding of what it means to educate and grow students in a way that benefits all. For example, developing a professional capacity in our school is highly required for an administrator who wants to see their building grow. At Curtis Middle School, our principal, Mrs. Reddick, sets a time aside each month where she has meetings with all her first year teacher or first year teachers in her building. This is where she does a Q&A session and talks and discusses with them why things are done the way they are. This could be programs, after school rec, whatever we have set up that we might do different from other schools and why we do it. This also allows our teachers the chance to grow and ask questions with their principals, something I have never seen at another building. This showed me firsthand how important administrators take time to develop their staff so that they will be able to grow and fall into place where are needed and help students in the building. Because of these meetings, new teachers who have come in are much more likely to understand and know what they need to do in our building. It has helped them adjust and given them more time to focus on their craft. So, what I learned about building professional capacity. I learned that the professional development provided by the administrator can help develop teachers into amazing rock stars that benefits all students who walk through the door. I have also learned from my classes how important it is to make sure teachers learn and grow as much as students do to be able to develop rigorous lessons and challenge and meet students' needs. I now have seen the importance of what PD can do to help change and develop a school for the better, especially in the teacher department. And with that, I thank you and I hope you have a wonderful day.